Sex Talk with the Siegel Brothers is a weekly program designed to answer all your questions, including the ones you didn't even know you had, and to clarify the endless debates around the wonderful and fascinating world of sexuality. Join us for real talk about sex from two experts in the field. Richard and Larry Siegel have over 50 years of experience as sex therapists, educators, counselors, and researchers. The Siegel Brothers are recognized around the world as trainers of medical and mental health professionals.
Hello, and welcome to Sex Talk with the Siegel Brothers. I'm Larry Siegel, a clinical sexologist and certified sexuality educator.
And I'm Ricky Siegel, a certified sex therapist and supervisor.
And proud to say my brother.
My awesome big brother.
Welcome to another week.
Thank you. Cheers to you.
Cheers to
you.
you.
Thank you for joining us.
Indeed, yes. Our weekly ritual sake toast. This one was for you.
Thank you.
Right? I know how much you like ginger beer, so I
Delicious.
decided to make a ginger sake.
Well done.
Indeed. So here we are, another week, and we thank you all for joining us. Before we get into things for this week, want to ask you to please hit that subscribe button. Ring that bell, get the notifications. You'll always know when we have a new episode coming up. And if you are watching us on Facebook, what can they do over there?
You can like, you can share, you can tell all your friends to tune in and join us for Sex Talk.
Indeed. So thank you for helping us grow and continue this forum, this platform that we have to talk about all things sex.
Right.
We are here every Friday night. However, that's not the only night people should be talking about sex, is it?
Nope. People should talk about sex every night.
Indeed.
Every day or every time. You know, what's the sexuality educator's credo? The teachable moments.
Right.
Life is filled with teachable moments. If you're taking the kids back to school, captive audience in a car.
You
right?
know, that's a big point.
Take notice of that huge-breasted bikini model on the tequila billboard, and maybe have 5 minutes to ask your kid, why do you think they're using an image like that to sell booze?
That's right. That's
a
right.
Teachable moment.
Yeah. Song lyrics, and you hear something even on a commercial. To ask
Listen
you
to
ask
what
your
they're
kid.
singing.
Yeah.
Do you know what those lyrics mean?
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Does that represent you? I mean, there's a whole bunch of things. And again, the point you just made is probably the most important point. So many parents and adults in general are worried and concerned how to have these talks, where, when.
Right.
And you know what? There really is no better place than the car.
Yeah.
It
the
is a
classic.
built-in opportunity.
Can't jump out. Well, hopefully nobody's going to be jumping out of a moving car. It's shoulder to shoulder, which especially with adolescents and kids is always much less intimidating than face to face, eye to eye. Yeah.
Indeed. So again, starting off with a couple of tips for you. So whatever it takes, whatever you can find as the opportunity, let's talk more about sex and sexuality in an intelligent way, in a smart way, in a healthy way. Right? And we have to kind of throw that in.
In a sexually healthy world, it should never be easier to have sex than to talk about having sex.
Yep.
And unfortunately, in a sexually unhealthy world, it's real easy to do that, especially in the dark, wasted, groping around, just going on old scripts and assumptions and vague ideas about consent. Remember how disappointed we were in Dr. Ruth recently? We loved Dr. Ruth.
Oh, yeah.
She shared a name with our dear departed mom. They're the two Ruth Siegels. But I think she's losing her marbles a little bit. And she said something in Time magazine about once you're naked under the covers, you've already given consent. Oh, no, Dr. Ruth, sorry.
No.
Consent is an ongoing process from beginning to end.
Exactly. That can be withdrawn and given at any point.
Right.
And again, that's that missing piece. That was that real disappointing piece.
Yeah.
Saying that once you've already said yes, you're kind of obligated to see it through. and it's just not a good message.
No, I don't care if you're naked in bed and there's a half an inch space between genital contact. Someone still has the right to go, you know what? I've changed my mind. I don't want to go any further.
I want to take it a step
And
further.
if that's not respected, yeah.
Right? You could be in the middle of having intercourse, and they say, you know what? I changed my mind. I don't
out."
want to do this. And it has to end.
Yeah. Otherwise, we're talking about rape.
Yeah.
There's no excuses like, again, right? Like it comes up almost every week. It's always the women's fault, right? She got him aroused.
Right.
What? So it's okay to rape her? She initiated the sex.
That's right.
She's had sex with him before. All the same old crap from 40 years ago.
Exactly.
So where does this list come
Yeah,
from?
this is a list.
Seven?
They're just borrowing some things from
Bustle.
the website Bustle. Yeah, bustle.com. They do some really good work, I have to say. And again, self-disclosure here. I have been interviewed and I've appeared in articles on their site over the last couple of years. So.
You whore.
I wouldn't talk to somebody if I didn't think they were legitimate. All right. So this was something that they had just recently posted.
7 ways sex has changed since we were growing up. Okay.
All right. So starting with number 7.
VR porn is a thing. And right, again, for all you boomers who are saying, what is VR porn? Virtual reality. And this is something for going on 40 years.
Yeah.
Has been in the pipeline.
That's
right?
right.
Been talking about. Well, how long has Second Life been around? It's got at least 20 years.
Probably
Longer,
probably about
maybe
that.
20, 25 years.
Wow, I can't believe 25 years ago.
Right, and still in
was
almost
it was still an
adult. Yeah, you're already middle aged.
I know that. Oh, that's scary. Thank you for that.
But now, of course, with teledildonics and cybersex toys and the ability to use the internet to remote control and have fun with long distance play with technology. But as you pointed out, for many, many years now, technology can duplicate just about every sense except the actual touch, right? You can you can have a VR visual stimulus, you can have smell, you can have vibration, you can have sound, but that you can't duplicate that skin to skin.
That friction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like a sleeve with your lover in a video can come pretty close to simulating sex if you're like 5,000 miles apart on business or something.
Yeah, and I think we're certainly at that point where people are using virtual reality both passively, almost just like they're watching a video and they're sort of engaged, and yes, they are immersed in what they're watching, but they're pretty much masturbating. There's now some of that interactive virtual reality where you can actually share. There are apps where you can sort of share the virtual reality world.
Quite a century leap ahead of going to sleazy places in Times Square where you put in quarters and
That's right. The
a
peep
door
shows.
opens up and some scrag with fresh stitches is dancing in a, and like other guys are, oh wow, just Again, I don't like to give the likes of Rudy Giuliani credit for anything except being a piece of shit and hopefully helping get 45 in trouble. But he did clean up Times Square, which a lot of New Yorkers, only New Yorkers remember.
Right.
Tourists don't remember what a snake pit It used to be before the giant M&Ms and the bright lights and the...
Right. Well, that was also when the city was on the verge of bankruptcy, and he came in, and there's sometimes where shit is a healthy treatment.
That was one of the worst parts of Manhattan.
Yeah, so that really did change. So we've come a long way from that. So we have this virtual reality thing. So we've even gone beyond reality when it comes to sex and porn and our general entertainment.
But even without partners, right? Of course, the technology has only exploded. Remember that movie, that Scarlett Johansson movie, Her? Or She?
Yeah, She? Oh, no, Her.
Her, yeah. Where the guy falls in love with an operating system.
I found that a little creepy.
Number 6 on the list.
I have to say.
Not only is VR porn a thing, but sex robots are a thing.
Right. And there's even a relationship between those two. Sex robots, something...
a lot of artificial intelligence.
And they've gotten very realistic. We've seen things like, going from the real doll to then becoming an automated type of real doll.
Yeah.
They're programmed now to be able to have conversations. Some of them, and this does bring, and this is something that's been true with technology across the board, especially in the last, I think, 40 years. When we look at even with the internet, and we look at all of this kind of stuff, I think we do have to take a minute and acknowledge the fact that the technology has gotten so far, so fast that it is way ahead of our ability to understand it, to ethically evaluate a lot of these things, and to really kind of just to get a handle and our understanding of what it is. And the reason I'm bringing that up, especially with the sex robots, is because, and we've talked about this before, that this has now even gone into the area of child sex robots, and there are these female sex robots that are designed to argue with their owner, so that they would so that they can act out their domestic violence tendencies and needs. And again, just like with the child, right? And so again, on the one hand, we can see that line.
People, but a guy who buys an adult real doll, most people, hate to be mean, but most people would judge them as kind of a lonely masturbator. But if the doll is...
Well, if Lars and the real doll is any indication.
Notice how artfully they avoided sex in that whole movie. But if it's a doll, if it's a child-sized doll, it's no longer a sex toy. Now it's this dangerous thing that's fueling the worst impulses in a sexual criminal, that's going to increase the likelihood of children being attacked and assaulted. Because this size doll makes for a lonely guy, this size doll makes for a monster and a predator.
Right. And again, to be clear, you're not saying this is what it is. You're saying this is what people are thinking.
Right.
And again, that same projection, if a guy is basically having sex with an adult robot or doll, then
size.
There's no adult
toy.
size.
It's not an adult.
Right.
Right.
Well, it's an adult doll, right? But you're right, an adult-sized doll, they don't think that would escalate in any way.
Nobody thinks he's going to turn into a rapist.
Women. Right, but they do think that with children.
Yeah.
There's that automatic assumption that this escalation will take place. It's not going to get to a point where they tolerate to it. It's not enough anymore. Now they go need the real thing. No, I would much rather, and the reality does support this, by the way, I would much rather that guy is at home in front of his computer or with his toy masturbating and not being out there molesting children.
Yeah.
Right? Now take that away. Prevent him from doing that. Remove the outlet, and now he has no other choice but to go out and molest.
Well, I mean, the pressure increases.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, in his mind,
hopefully he has a choice
there's no
to
other
get support
option. Well,
from mental health professionals who aren't going to freak out and call the cops for a thought crime, and support somebody who might need help with impulses that they don't want to act on.
Sure.
Right?
Sure. But they don't understand that these people can be rational too.
The fifth way that sex has changed since we were growing up is that obviously it's become a hell of a lot easier to find hookup partners thanks to apps.
Yeah.
Online dating comes with lots of challenges, but 10 years ago you couldn't just open an app and have some GPS tell you there's someone within
But that's
10
the thing,
15
right?
feet of you who's horny.
Right. There's the app that said, okay, all right, turn around. Right. There they are. Right. No, we never had that. And we had the Village Voice Personals. Again, probably about 20 years ago, there was Craigslist.
Well, and AOL, right? The town hall
Right.
forums,
Once we had that, but basically it was the
people were-
newspaper personals. Right, what was it? Al Goldstein's Screw magazine. That was one of the biggest things with that, is that they had these sex personals, and it was a real underground kind of thing. There were maybe 3 or 4. Remember, just in New York, maybe 3 or 4 of these underground periodicals, and that's where you would get the sex personals. Now, I mean, they almost advertise on TV.
Dozens of them. And they do point out that it could explain why STI rates have gone up since dating apps have become popular.
It's probably a decent connection.
Number 4th way sex has changed is that cybersex has gotten easier. Obviously.
Right. And again, the fact that we even have cybersex, it was a big
Before
stretch.
2003, Skype was not a thing.
Nope. No.
Now we have video chat and cameras and stuff.
And
like you said,
between
cyber toys.
Between 1947 and 2003, really the only thing people had was a telephone.
Yeah.
And in the beginning of that, it was non-consensual.
Yeah.
Remember the obscene phone calls? Right? That actually went away with caller ID.
Right, pretty much.
Once we got caller ID, couldn't get away with obscene phone calls anymore.
I remember that moron Don Imus, a big DJ, call women up. Say, "Are you naked?"
Yep.
And they said Howard Stern was sophomoric.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So the fact that people don't have to leave their house, people don't have to go anywhere. A lot of, I think, starting generationally, millennials and Gen Zers, so many, their entire lives are not even on a computer anymore. Yeah, on their phone.
Yeah.
Right? Their entire social lives are remote. They're all online. Everything they do online. And you know what? That's one of the reasons why since 2018 we've gotten all of these studies and all this data to show that people, especially younger people, are having less sex than ever before in history, because I think a lot of it is online.
Yeah.
Right? These statistics are really looking at partnered sex.
Our producer's saying, "Okay, boomer." Number 3, none of these are surprises, are they?
No.
There are more sex toys every day.
Mm-hmm.
Well, again, as the technology continues, sex always seems to take the cutting edge of technology.
Even, absolutely.
The telephone, right?
Yep.
After Alexander Graham Bell invented the telephone, how long did it take before somebody started talking dirty?
Mm-hmm.
The movie camera,
Yes.
still cameras and video cameras. Sex.
Hey, there's the equivalent of porn and cave drawings. I'm sure the first person that drew on a cave, it was some graffiti.
Do you remember we've been
Buffalo Dick
laughing about this for decades? How completely boring and unexciting the AOL ads used to be, because the only game in town, the brand new internet, and all they could offer was sports scores,
right?
And you could check your stocks in real time, and the weather, and right, they should have just come right out and said AOL, fastest access to porn on the internet, which was dial-up and slow and pictures filling the screen.
See, now that right there, we could talk about major change just in that, between dial-up and high-speed internet. It used to be, if you wanted to have cybersex with somebody, it was a chat. You'd have to type, "Oh, I'm so horny, I'm so hard," and then click. You had to wait maybe 2-3 minutes, and then you get, me too.
Number two way that sex has changed since we were growing up, anal sex is more popular.
Yes. Yes. Significantly more.
By 1992, 16% of women aged 18 to 24 reported having had anal sex. By 2010, that number had skyrocketed to 40%, according to a study in the Journal of Sexual Medicine.
Right. Now, I have to echo a concern that I think was also in this article about that, it's great that we've normalized a lot of what used to be considered sort of fringe taboo type of sexual activity. However, we also have to be careful of not going into the area where, if this is now becoming such a norm, that now is this going to be something else that women are going to be expected and pressured into?
Right.
And it's like, well, why not? You're supposed to do this.
Yeah.
You're supposed to want this. So again, that's part of why we need to understand trends and things that are progressing and moving forward. You just can't let them go unchecked.
Of all the ways we've heard normal defined over the years, I love the way Shadeen Francis did over the weekend. She said, normal is frequency data.
Yeah, normal is statistical.
So that's a good point. If it's become, and some would argue that it's a pornification effect that has normalized, to a lot of younger people especially, what's become expected. Right. Second date, you're supposed to have anal, and again, it'll take a while before we see the comfort that follows up that trend.
Right. And by the way, could I throw in, a little, pretty much a jab that I've commonly thrown out there before on that idea that, this pornification. We can't deny the fact that young people especially are learning about sex from watching this stuff. So if there is going to be a negative consequence to the normalization or typification of these kinds of things, parents, that responsibility lies squarely with you.
Yeah.
Right?
No denying
Said that before, and I'm going to keep saying that until you kind of step up and do what you're supposed to do.
And the number one way that sex has changed since we were growing up, the orgasm gap is closing. And they add, thank God.
Yeah.
Straight women tend to have fewer orgasms with partners than straight men. But a recent study in the Archives of Sexual Behavior found that 95% of straight men, but only 65% of straight women usually or always orgasmed. But 89% of women in a 2015 Skin Condoms Millennial Sex Survey said they usually orgasm with their partners, which means that maybe things are changing. We had our friend and colleague on the show, Laurie Mintz, author of the book Becoming Clitorate. Why, what's the subtitle? Why the Orgasm Gap is important or real and what to do about it. So
and part of that is also because women are feeling more empowered and entitled.
And learning how.
Right.
Women are learning how to have orgasms, and it's taken 30 years, 40 years to have the comfort, to have the conversations about clitorises and orgasms. Really?
Yep.
It's
and feeling like it's your right, not just what you do for your partner. And again, that's still part of the script for too many women. So I hope you enjoyed those. They're just 7 things that we kind of look at and see sort of where we are. There's obviously many more things that we can talk about.
And imagine where we'll be in 10 years.
In 10 years from now, absolutely. Absolutely. So if there's anything that you think should have been on that list that we can talk about, let us know. Send us a comment. Right? Yeah. You have questions, you have comments, you have feedback.
We'd love to hear from you.
Indeed.
And thank you for joining us for another episode of Sex Talk with the Siegel Brothers.
Indeed. And join us next Friday and every other Friday for another episode. And final toast to you all. Thank you. Stay well.
Thanks for watching Sex Talk with the Siegel Brothers. Join us each week on Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern. You can also follow us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel to stay on top of the latest developments in the ever-changing world of sex and sexuality.